So, game 3 against Kriegsdiver. The hand looks good. The thing is, when I'm on the draw against Kriegsdiver, I really like having the second land because you can almost guarantee that your Deathwatch Shaman or whatever you're gonna play in the first turn will like be hit with Lightning Bolt or sometimes even Disfigure postboard, you never know, or Dismember. So you really want to play two guys on the second turn to regain initiative, because you have to expect them to do something proactive on the first turn in Delver or Deathwatch Shaman. That's why I like it so much when they go turn 1 Delver, turn 1 Ponder. So they lose initiative, and if they now go to like kill your creature, it's somewhat you're like on par again. And if you only have a single land, it can make things somewhat complicated. But overall, this hand is still quite okay. The Combat Therapy is the card I don't really want, but I'd still much rather have this than Natural Order. So what is he gonna do? Turn 1 Deathwatch Shaman. I wonder whether I'm actually gonna lead. No, okay. I was wondering whether I'm gonna lead with Heritage to it, but the upside of Deathwatch Shaman living is just too big not to do it, because then next turn, if this lives, I guess we can go to... Oh, wow. Lavamancer, huh? Then next turn we could, like, theoretically cover Therapy and play another guy, according to what we see. But Lavamancer makes things much more complicated now. And see, this is what I mean with initiative. If he goes Ponder on the first turn, he can, like, cast Lavamancer or Diabolic Edict, but since he did something proactive, he did both, and now we're, like, pretty far behind. I might still just play the Visionary, just to basically to draw a card and to eat 2 cards from his graveyard and like tap one of his mana main phase. If he's even gonna do it, he might actually just ignore the Visionary here. Like, I think a good player would actually ignore the Visionary. There's only a marginal upside, and that's when my third land is Cradle. Then he could have prevented that from making any mana. But yeah. So right here, we're in a terrible spot, so to say. I'm just going for, I guess, another Deathwatch Shaman. Trying to induce the, like, this kind of induces this activating on this, because it might get a Wild Symbiote. But even then, like, what are we gonna do? Get a Deathwatch Shaman, lose it next turn again? When you're so far behind... Okay, a Quirion Ranger makes sense in the way that it produces 1 mana immediately, so this is what I mean with like getting 2 guys on a border turn. And I guess I'm gonna play Wild Symbiote, yes, because next turn he has to kill Wild Symbiote, and then Quirion Ranger might get to live, and then we have 3 mana on my turn, and then we can play like Death Ride into Heritage, if he does that, if he allows us to do that, which I doubt, but at least that way we've got somewhat of an out. But at this point, I'm not very optimistic about our odds here. Especially since we already missed a couple of land drops, which is somewhat important when you're behind. And yeah, like I mentioned, he goes for this, and now we just hope that he doesn't have anything else. Okay, Diver, huh? So if he's got nothing here, and we draw really well, I could see a very small chance of still taking this game. I wonder whether I'm gonna play around days or not, because you can play around days here by bouncing the forest and replaying it, but then you can't play Cradle in case you draw it. So you also have to take into account that a lot of Delver players are siding out the Aces against Elves, less likely when they're on the play. But yeah, I think since we're behind, we have to take risks. Oh well, okay, I don't like taking risks here, apparently. Maybe I was thinking we're not as far behind as we actually are. Okay, that makes sense. I bounced it to get the Heritage, to get the Nettle Sentinel from my library, just to have more mana, so I'd be able to play all these, and then hope for Delver not to flip, even though he probably set it up with Ponder. Actually didn't set it up with Ponder. Okay, that's just too much that happened. He might have set it up with Ponder. At this point, you just have to assume that it's gonna flip, I guess. or if you can't beat a flip, you have to assume that it's not gonna flip. The thing is, the way I play it out here, we actually get to eat a significant portion of the opponent's graveyard, but on the other hand, we also really might just need to gain life. So what's gonna be? Opponent is thinking, we get the use. And I immediately grow it out of bolt range, that makes sense. And since we could have otherwise only eaten one more card from his graveyard, he gets to keep all three of them. I think it's more important, yeah, apparently it's more important to grow the use out of bolt range. Which makes sense if you think about it, because the Grim Lava Mensa is only gonna kill a single creature a turn anyway, and I'd rather have the use out of bolt range than, say, keeping the Deathwatch Shaman. Especially since even if we eat all of his cards, he can probably still get to two cards in the graveyard, given that he has a wasteland. So in that case he can even just kill the use. So you need to grow the use to 4/4. More Ponder. By the way, he flipped with Ponder, I guess. Yeah, he flipped with Ponder. Cantrip galore. The amount of tokens also becomes quite worrying at this point, because he's got a flyer and a creature that has technically reach, and we are very much on the defensive here, and this is when Grixis Delver just starts trading like board for damage. Like that, he's slowly losing his board advantage, but he's trading it for big damage. And I don't even know if I can afford blocking the Young Pyromancer here. But since I untapped the Heritage Druid, I drew it. Okay, yeah. So what I wanted to do was throw the useless Heritage Druid at the Young Pyromancer, but I guess he sees what I'm about to do here and takes on Nelson. Well, it doesn't really matter which one he takes down, because I'm gonna lose both either way. And what's this gonna be? Another Delver? Yeah, there's really not much we can draw here. I might just play the Carrot Therapy, but it's more like a waste of time and mana, basically. And he already has everything he needs. So with him tapped down, I was considering like eating his graveyard, but then we've got like all of my good blockers tapped, except for this one, and I'd rather keep the blockers up, but since this Delver flips as well, where Carrot Therapy doesn't matter, there's really not much we can do. He just goes all in, as he should. We're guaranteed to take 6 damage. Probably 8. He just can't make up his mind. Okay, so he only... Yeah, that's a fine play as well. I think the clock might actually be the same, whether he goes for the elementals attacking or not. What happens if we draw Kraterhoof? How close are we to Kraterhoof mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Oh, but he's got the Deathwatch Shaman to counter. And there's no lands in the graveyard anyway. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we draw an elf, 7, 8 could be, yeah. At this point we're just making sure to like make the best use of our mana. That's fine. Because that way the Deathwatch Shaman is tapped, so if we draw a land next turn, we can use our Deathwatch Shaman and attack with it if we need to. But if you have to pass here, we're gonna lose anyway. I guess he's gonna kill the Heritage Druid, which makes the most sense. Yeah. Draw Abrupt Decay, but it probably is too late, yeah, and I just give up because there's nothing we can do here anymore. Unfortunate. I think Luisbach ended up making top 8 or even winning the entire thing, I don't know, but yeah. This was our first loss in the Swiss, so on to round 4.